What happens when country music's queen walks into what should be a friendly conversation, only to face an unexpected attack on everything she stands for? It only took 20 seconds for Southern charm to meet New York aggression. Before we get into this unbelievable confrontation, make sure you hit that subscribe button for daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals. Last night on The View, what was supposed to be a celebration of Reba McEntire's legendary career turned into one of the most explosive confrontations in daytime television history. The country music superstar arrived at the studio ready to discuss her latest projects and her incredible journey in entertainment. But what unfolded left the audience gasping and social media absolutely erupting. Reba McEntire walked onto the View stage to warm applause, looking elegant in a burgundy blazer and her signature red hair styled perfectly. She waved to the audience with her trademark smile, greeting each co-host with genuine warmth as she made her way to the table. Joy Behar stood to shake her hand, and Reba settled into the chair next to her, looking comfortable and ready for what she expected to be a pleasant conversation. "Reba McEntire, welcome to The View," Whoopi said from her spot at the head of the table. "It's wonderful to have you here. You're a legend, and we're honored." "Well, thank you so much," Reba said in her distinctive Oklahoma accent. "I'm just thrilled to be here with you ladies. This is exciting for me." The conversation began on a positive note. They discussed Reba's latest album, her upcoming tour dates, and her acting projects. Reba was animated and charming, sharing stories from her decades in the entertainment industry. She talked about her early days in country music, her transition into acting, and her recent return to television. The audience was loving every minute of it, laughing at her anecdotes and clapping at her achievements. But then Joy Behar decided to shift the conversation into more controversial territory. "So, Reba, I want to ask you about something," Joy began, her tone changing noticeably. "You've been pretty vocal lately about your political views, or at least, people have noticed what you're not saying. You're from Oklahoma, you have a largely conservative fan base, and you've been pretty careful not to offend them. Do you ever feel like you're compromising your values to protect your career?" Reba's smile tightened slightly. "Well, Joy, I don't think I'm compromising anything. I've always believed that my job is to entertain people, not to tell them how to think or how to vote. I respect that people have different views, and I try to create music and entertainment that brings people together rather than divides them. But isn't that just playing it safe?" Joy pressed, leaning forward in her chair. "I mean, we're living in really important times. There are critical issues facing this country: women's rights, voting rights, healthcare, climate change. Don't you think someone with your platform has a responsibility to speak out on these issues?" "I speak out about things I'm passionate about," Reba said, her voice remaining calm but with a slight edge creeping in. "I support various causes. I do charity work. I try to make a positive impact in people's lives. But I don't think I need to lecture my fans about politics to be a good person or to make a difference." "Nobody's asking you to lecture anyone," Joy said, her tone becoming more aggressive. "But when you stay silent on important issues, especially issues that affect women, that silence says something. That silence can be interpreted as complicity with the people who are trying to take away rights." The other co-hosts shifted in their seats. This was getting uncomfortable fast, and they could sense the tension building. "Complicity?" Reba repeated, her eyebrows raising as she processed the accusation. "That's a pretty strong word, Joy. I don't think staying out of political debates makes someone complicit in anything. It just means I respect that people can make up their own minds without me telling them what to think. I trust my fans to be intelligent, thoughtful people." "But you're from a red state," Joy continued, her voice getting sharper. "You perform at venues where I'm sure there are people with views that many would consider problematic. People who vote for politicians that are trying to roll back protections. Don't you have a responsibility to use your voice to educate those people, to change their minds? Educate them?" Reba's voice had a sharper edge now. "Joy, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a politician. I'm an entertainer. My job is to sing songs and tell stories that connect with people. I'm not going to stand on stage and tell my fans that their beliefs are wrong. Even if those beliefs are harmful, Joy challenged. And who decides what's harmful? Reba shot back, her voice taking on a defensive edge. You? The View? The coastal elites who think they know better than everyone else? I come from Oklahoma, Joy. I know the people you're talking about. They're my family. They're my friends. They're my neighbors. They're good people. They work hard. They love their families. They have values and principles. They believe in God and community and helping each other. Just because they don't agree with you on every political issue doesn't make them bad people. Nobody's saying they're bad people, Joy said, though her tone and body language suggested otherwise. But when people support policies that hurt others, when they vote for politicians who are actively trying to take away rights from vulnerable communities, that's a problem. And when someone like you, with your enormous influence, doesn't speak out against those policies, doesn't use your platform to educate and inform, you're essentially enabling them to continue down that path. Enabling? Reba's voice rose slightly, her southern accent becoming more pronounced as her frustration grew. Now I'm enabling harmful policies because I sing country music and don't spend my time on Twitter arguing about politics with strangers? That's ridiculous, Joy, and I think you know it. That's not fair to me, and it's not fair to my fans. The audience was starting to murmur now. Some people were clearly uncomfortable with Joy's aggressive line of questioning. Others seemed to be nodding along with her, agreeing with her assessment. I don't think it's ridiculous at all, Joy insisted, her voice becoming louder and more forceful. I think it's a completely legitimate question. You have millions of fans who look up to you. You have a platform that most people would kill for. You have influence that could actually make a difference. And you choose to use that platform to stay neutral on issues that really matter, issues that affect people's lives in real, tangible ways. That's a choice, Reba, and it's a choice that has consequences for other people. You know what? Reba said, setting her coffee cup down with more force than necessary, the cup clattering against the saucer. I'm getting a little tired of people like you telling people like me that we're doing something wrong by not being activists. Not everyone wants to be a political warrior. Not everyone wants to spend their lives fighting and arguing and dividing people. Some of us just want to make music and bring joy to people's lives. Some of us want to be a source of comfort and entertainment, not controversy. People like me? Joy repeated, her voice rising. What does that mean? It means people who live in their bubbles and think they have all the answers, Reba said, her southern accent getting thicker with her growing frustration. People who sit in their comfortable studios in New York or Los Angeles and judge everyone who doesn't think exactly like they do. People who can't understand that maybe, just maybe, there are different ways to make a positive impact in the world. I'm not in a bubble, Joy protested. I'm asking you to take a stand on important issues, issues that affect real people's lives. And I'm telling you that I do take stands, Reba said firmly, just not the stands you want me to take, just not in the way you want me to take them. I support my community. I support causes I believe in. I help people who need help. But I'm not going to get on social media and attack half the country because they don't vote the way you think they should. Half the country? Joy's voice was getting louder now. Are we talking about the half that's trying to take away people's rights? The half that's promoting policies that hurt vulnerable communities? That half? See, this is exactly what I'm talking about, Reba said, shaking her head in frustration. You've already decided that everyone who disagrees with you is evil. You've already painted everyone who doesn't share your exact political views as some kind of villain. You've divided the world into good people and bad people based solely on how they vote, and that's just not true. The world is more complicated than that. People are more complicated than that. Some things aren't complicated, Joy argued, her voice rising with passion. Some things are right and wrong. Basic human rights aren't complicated. Treating people with dignity isn't complicated. And staying silent in the face of wrong, staying neutral when people are being hurt, that's a choice. That's a moral choice. I'm not staying silent, Reba said, her voice rising to match Joy's intensity. I'm choosing not to be divisive. I'm choosing to focus on what brings people together rather than what tears them apart. I'm choosing to use my music and my platform to provide comfort, to provide joy, to provide an escape from all the fighting and the anger. And if you can't see the value in that, then I don't know what to tell you. The value in that? Joy laughed. But it wasn't a friendly sound at all. It was harsh and mocking. The value is that you get to keep making money off everyone without offending anyone. The value is that you get to maintain your career, your image, your brand, while staying comfortable and safe. Meanwhile, other people, people without your privilege and your platform, they have to fight for their rights and their dignity every single day. That's not fair, Reba said, her eyes flashing with genuine anger now. You don't know what I do or don't do. You don't know who I help or how I help them. You don't know what causes I support or what charities I donate to. You're making assumptions based on the fact that I don't perform my values for your approval on social media. You're judging me based on what I don't say publicly, not on what I actually do in my life. If you're doing so much, why don't you talk about it? Joy challenged, crossing her arms. Why all the secrecy? Why hide your good deeds if they're so important? Because I was raised to believe that when you do good things, you do them quietly, Reba said. I was raised to believe that charity isn't about getting credit or looking good. It's about actually helping people. But apparently, in your world, if you don't broadcast everything you do, it doesn't count. In my world, Joy said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, people who have platforms use them to make the world better. They don't hide behind this false neutrality and pretend they're above it all. I'm not hiding behind anything, Reba said, standing up now. And I'm not pretending to be above anything. I'm simply choosing not to participate in the kind of divisive, judgmental, holier-than-thou culture that you're promoting right now. The audience gasped. The other co-hosts looked shocked. Joy stood up as well, her face red. Holier than thou? Joy repeated. I'm asking you to take responsibility for your influence. That's not holier than thou. That's basic decency. No, what you're doing is trying to bully me into saying what you want me to say, Reba said, her voice shaking with a combination of anger and hurt. You brought me on this show under the pretense of talking about my music and my career, celebrating my accomplishments, having a friendly conversation, and instead, you've spent the last 15 minutes attacking me for not being the kind of activist you think I should be. You've questioned my character, my values, my integrity, all because I won't get on your soapbox and preach to my fans. I haven't attacked you, Joy protested, though everyone in the studio could see that's exactly what she'd been doing. I've asked you questions, important questions that your fans deserve to have answered, questions about your values and your priorities. My fans already know who I am, Reba said, her voice strong and clear, despite her obvious emotion. They know my values. They know my heart. They've been with me for 40 years. They've seen me through every stage of my life and career. They don't need you to interrogate me on their behalf. They don't need you to expose me as some kind of fraud or hypocrite, because I'm not. Maybe they don't know you as well as they think, Joy said, her words cutting and deliberate. Maybe they'd be disappointed to know that you're okay with staying silent while harmful things happen. Maybe they'd be surprised to learn that their hero won't stand up for what's right when it might cost her something. And maybe, Reba said, her voice going cold and steely in a way that made everyone in the studio sit up straighter, they'd be disappointed in you for attacking someone who's dedicated their entire life to bringing joy and positivity to the world. Maybe they'd be disappointed that you think the only way to make a difference is to be angry and divisive and judgmental. Maybe they'd be disappointed that you can't see value in bringing people together instead of tearing them apart. I'm not, the one being judgmental here, Joy said, her voice rising defensively. You're the one who just called me divisive and holier than thou. You're the one who's being defensive because you can't defend your position. Because that's what you're being, Reba said, her voice rising to match Joy's intensity, her hands gesturing emphatically. You invited me here, and instead of having a respectful conversation, instead of treating me like a guest, instead of showing me even basic courtesy, you've turned this into an attack on my character, my values, and my choices. You've accused me of complicity. You've accused me of enabling harm. You've suggested that I'm some kind of coward who's afraid of her own fan base. And I'm done with it. I'm done sitting here taking this abuse. You're done with it? Joy laughed harshly, spreading her hands wide. What are you going to do? Walk off? Are you going to run away because someone finally asked you a tough question? You know what? Reba reached for her microphone with trembling hands. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I didn't come here to be lectured by someone who thinks they're morally superior to everyone else. I didn't come here to be put on trial for my beliefs. I didn't come here to be made to feel like a bad person because I don't want to divide my audience. I came here to talk about my music and connect with people, but you've made that impossible. Reba, wait, Whoopi interjected, trying to calm the situation. Let's just take a breath here and reset this conversation. There's nothing to reset, Reba said, unclipping her microphone. Joy has made it very clear what she thinks of me and people like me. She thinks we're complicit. She thinks we're enabling harm. She thinks we're morally deficient because we don't approach the world the way she does. And I'm not going to sit here and continue to be insulted. Nobody's insulting you, Joy said, though her entire demeanor, her tone, her questions had been doing exactly that for the past 15 minutes. I'm trying to have an honest conversation about responsibility and influence and the obligations that come with fame. No, you're trying to shame me, Reba said, her voice steady but filled with raw emotion. You're trying to make me feel bad for not being the kind of person you want me to be. You're trying to paint me as someone who doesn't care about important issues, someone who's selfish and cowardly, and I refuse to sit here and let you do that. I refuse to let you rewrite my story and my values to fit your narrative. If you walk off this show right now, it's going to say a lot about you, Joy warned, her voice taking on a threatening tone. It's going to show people exactly who you really are. Good, Reba said firmly, placing her microphone on the table with a decisive thud. Let it say that I have enough self-respect not to sit here and be attacked on television. Let it say that I won't be bullied by someone who thinks their way is the only way. Let it say that I choose dignity over being someone's punching bag. Let it say that I value respect and kindness more than I value being on your show. This is ridiculous, Joy said, throwing her hands up in exasperation. You're being completely oversensitive. You're overreacting. I was just asking legitimate questions about your public statements and your platform. Your questions were accusations, Reba said, looking Joy directly in the eye with an unwavering gaze. Your questions were designed to make me look bad no matter how I answered them. You wanted me to either admit I'm a coward who's afraid of my fan base, or you wanted me to attack my fans by calling them problematic and harmful. Those weren't questions, Joy. That was a trap. That was a setup, and I'm not playing that game. That's paranoid, Joy scoffed, waving her hand dismissively. No, that's experience, Reba said, her voice ringing with authority. I've been in this business for over 40 years. I've done thousands of interviews. I've been on every show you can imagine. I know when someone's trying to have a real conversation and when someone's trying to manipulate a situation. I know when someone's more interested in creating conflict than actually understanding another person's perspective. And that's what you've done here today. You've created conflict for ratings, for clips, for controversy. And I won't participate in it anymore. I was trying to understand your perspective, Joy insisted, her voice getting more defensive. But you won't give a straight answer. You keep deflecting and avoiding the real questions. I've given you plenty of straight answers, Reba said, her voice strong and clear. You just don't like them because they're not the answers you wanted. You wanted me to either agree with you completely or expose myself as some kind of enabler of harmful policies. But I'm neither of those things. I'm a woman who believes in bringing people together through music and entertainment. I'm a woman who believes that kindness and respect matter more than being right all the time. I'm a woman who believes that you can make a difference without being divisive. And I'm a woman who won't be bullied into apologizing for those beliefs. The studio had gone completely silent now. Everyone was watching this confrontation unfold, shocked by the intensity and the raw honesty of what was being said. The cameras continued to roll, capturing every moment. If that's how you feel, then maybe you should leave, Joy said, her voice icy and hard. Maybe this show isn't the right place for you. You know what, Joy? Reba said, straightening her blazer and gathering what remained of her composure. That's the first thing you've said today that makes sense. I should leave. I absolutely should remove myself from this toxic environment where asking reasonable questions is considered staying silent, where not being a political activist is considered complicity, and where being respectful of different viewpoints is considered moral weakness. This isn't a place for honest conversation. This is a place for ambushes. Fine, Joy said, her voice sharp and cutting. Leave then. Run away. That's what people do when they can't defend their positions. I will, Reba said, her voice filled with quiet dignity. And I want you to know something before I go. I came here today with nothing but respect for this show and for all of you. I was excited to be here. I was looking forward to this conversation. I thought we could have a real discussion about music, about life, about the things that matter. But you've shown me that respect is a one-way street for you. You expect it from your guests, but you don't give it. You demand that people answer to you, that they justify themselves to you, but you don't actually listen to what they say. You just wait for your turn to attack again. And that's sad, Joy. That's really, truly sad. Because you have a platform too. You have influence too. And you're using it to tear people down instead of lifting them up. With that, Reba turned and walked toward the exit with her head held high. The audience erupted into chaos, some people standing and applauding her courage, others booing her departure, everyone talking at once. The noise level was absolutely deafening, voices overlapping and echoing through the studio. That's right, run away, Joy called after her. Run back to your safe space where nobody challenges you. Reba stopped and turned back one final time. I'm not running away from a challenge, Joy. I'm walking away from disrespect. There's a difference. And if you can't see that difference, then you've got bigger problems than my political neutrality. She turned back around and continued walking, her heels clicking against the floor in the sudden silence that followed her words. The cameras followed her as she made her way off the stage, past the shocked crew members, and toward the exit. Joy stood at the table, her face flushed, breathing heavily. The other co-hosts sat frozen, clearly unsure of what to say or do. Whoopi finally spoke up. Well, that escalated quickly. We need to take a break. But as the show cut to commercial, everyone in the studio knew that what had just happened would be talked about for a very long time. Reba McEntire, one of country music's most beloved and respected artists, had just walked off The View after a confrontation that exposed deep divisions not just between her and Joy, but between different ways of seeing the world, different approaches to public life, and different beliefs about what responsibility really means. Backstage, Reba moved quickly through the corridor, her security team and publicist rushing to keep up. Her face was composed, but her eyes were bright with unshed tears of anger and frustration. Are you okay? Her publicist asked quietly. I will be, Reba said, her voice steady. But right now, I just need to get out of here. They guided her toward the back exit, away from the studio, away from the confrontation, away from Joy Behar and The View. As Reba pushed through the door and stepped out into the New York afternoon, She took a deep breath of the cool air. Her car was waiting. She climbed in, and as soon as the door closed, she closed her eyes and let out a long, shaky breath. She'd been in the entertainment business for decades. She'd faced criticism, dealt with controversies, handled difficult interviews, but what had just happened felt different. It felt more personal, more cruel. She'd come to the View hoping to share her music, her stories, her joy with a new audience. Instead, she'd been put on trial for her beliefs, attacked for her choices, and made to feel like everything she'd worked for meant nothing because she didn't want to be a political warrior. As the car pulled away from the studio, Reba stared out the window at the city passing. By thinking about everything that had been said, everything that had happened, and she knew, deep in her heart, that she'd made the right choice by walking away. Some conversations aren't worth having. Some battles aren't worth fighting. And some people will never understand that there's more than one way to make a positive impact in the world.